Welcome to Fun and Development, Player Development Series Volume 4. This is Coach Lou Mignone, Director of Coaching at West Orange United FC. I hope that everybody is safe and healthy during this period of quarantine related to COVID-19. The return to play in the state of New Jersey has been identified as June 22nd, and that is an initial phase of return to play, which will include physical distancing between players at all times, as well as physical distancing between players and staff members. We will get to you specific details relating to plans for activities during this return to play period, and we will hopefully put together some activities over the summer in preparation for, hopefully, a full return to play in September for our fall season. Please check out the individual technical training for players videos that I put together and placed on YouTube. This will give to you some ideas of isolated technical training drills that you can do with your child in your backyard, perhaps. And you can certainly tweak those activities to meet the needs of your child. Webinars for players and parents will take place each Thursday, 4 p.m. on Zoom, 30-minute webinars. Webinars for parents will take place each Tuesday night, 7 o'clock p.m., 30-minute webinars on Zoom. Please join when you are able. If you are not, I will place the content from these webinars at YouTube for your viewing convenience. I'd like to once again thank everybody for your volunteerism and support of Top Soccer, a program for children with special needs. Please contact me if you have any questions about this wonderful program. You are welcome to volunteer. We get together each Saturday during the spring and fall, late afternoon, 5 or 6 p.m. Within a gym in town. And please spread the word to any families with children with special needs that could benefit from this great experience. In reviewing the big picture, 75% of youth players drop out of soccer by the age of 13. Primary reason for leaving is that they're not having fun, and they're also not developing skills to advance to higher levels of the game. This is the first generation to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. This is due in part to less active lifestyles and rising levels of obesity. So that's some scary information that is made available to us from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. A closer look at the challenges we face in soccer has been done by the Aspen Institute Project Play, which looks into all challenges within the youth sports scene. They work very closely with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic committees. But we find that the average age to quit soccer is 9 years of age. The average years of participation is only 3, and only 5% of children 5 to 18 years of age meet the recommended 60 minutes of moderate physical activity each day. This is due a great deal to sedentary hobbies that children have connected themselves to in this current generation. The average screen time, according to commonsensemedia.org, for children 8 to 12 is over 4 hours, and for teenagers, over 7 hours each day. So what can we do to help kids be more active and perhaps enjoy and stay within the sport of soccer? Well, Dr. Amanda Visick and her colleagues at George Washington University, through their continuing research into participation and motivation for participation, have put together the fun integration theory and fun maps, because they've identified fun as the single largest predictor of sport commitment and sustained participation in childhood and through adolescence. And incidentally, lack of fun is the primary reason that children leave organized youth sports. Play-Practice-Play is an evidence-based approach developed by the United States Soccer Federation. It was released in January of 2018, and it is part of the national grassroots movement to build better player-centered environments. I am an instructor for the United States Soccer Federation, and I travel to various locations, such as the picture in the upper left corner. That's taken in Kansas City, Kansas. And some of these other pictures are taken in New Jersey, Jersey City, Wall, and yeah, I'm not sure where the other pictures were taken. But so throughout our state, throughout the country, we instruct these courses that include the in-person experience for the 4v4, 7v7, 9v9, and 11v11 game models, the U.S. Soccer D-License course, as well as U.S. Soccer Grassroots Roadshows. And at the end of each course, at the end of each Grassroots course and D-License course, we gather the players together and the coaches that are attending the course, and the parents of the players that came to participate. And we ask the players the open-ended question of, what do you think about the training session that you were just involved in? So it's an open-ended question without any information being fed to the players, and they all respond very, very similarly in expressing complete love and attachment to the experience that they just had at a grassroots course. And when we ask what they liked about it, they tell us that they scrimmaged for the entire training session, and they loved it. And they also expand sometimes that it's not what they experience in their club or within their team. They talk about drills that they're involved in, and how the drills are boring and playing is fun. So that's sometimes embarrassing for the coach that might be coaching them, who might even be in attendance at the course. But this is what they're saying at all the courses. And we gather together now electronically twice a week. We used to gather once a week electronically. But we get on webinars twice a week with instructors throughout the country. And this is the information that is being echoed in every state that offers these grassroots courses, and that is all our states, all the states. And pretty telling. So that is what they are saying. That is what the children want. The children want to play instead of being involved with drills that they refer to as working. They would rather play than work. So we have to look at who is in front of us, right? Who are these players that we as coaches are serving, and what are their needs? What are their needs? So we have learned that their needs are fun and the need to play. They want to play soccer. They don't want to stand in line. They don't want to wait for their turn to do something. They want to play. So we identify with those needs. And they have a need for autonomy. They want to be able to make their own decisions. They want to be free to make their own decisions. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to decide what to do on their own. They want relatedness. They want to relate. They want to be part of a team. They want to be with their friends. They want to collaborate with their friends to move the ball forward, to create chances, and to score goals. They also want to collaborate with their friends to prevent the opponent from moving the ball forward, prevent the opponent from creating chances, and stop the opponent from scoring goals. So they also want to feel competence. They want to feel as though they're getting better at what they're doing. So we design environments that are not too easy or not too difficult. We observe and we adapt teams to make them fair in every play, practice, play training session. And we allow players the ability to struggle to achieve success. And this brings a sense of competence. So what do we mean by saying player-centered? So the picture that we see there is not player-centered. That is coach-centered, meaning that the coach designed specifically by the placement of those cones and the structure of that drill what is expected of the players. They're expected to dribble in and out of each cone without touching the cone, and then upon doing that, upon finishing that, returning to the back of the line and waiting for your turn to do it again. So that's a coach-centered environment. There's no decision-making on the part of the player. They're just marching through the orders of a coach. So what do we mean by player-centered? So when children come to practice, they don't want to stand in lines. They certainly don't want to run laps or perform drills. They don't want to work or be lectured. They want to play, right? They're children. They want to enjoy playing, right? They want to have fun. They want to connect with their teammates, and they want to learn through playing. We call that experiential learning. They want to engage in activities that are enjoyable. So this is a low-structured type of environment, whereas the previous environment we saw is very structured. And from the untrained eye, this training session, based upon the way that it looks very structured, will build more skill than this environment where there is zero structure. There's no adults there. Those are children playing on a court in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And Brazil is probably the soccer hotbed of the planet in terms of developing world-class players. So this low-structured, informal play type of environment, based upon recent studies specific to soccer, indicate that this type of environment provides high levels of engagement, and we refer to this as deliberate play. And this is a significant component in developing a pathway for high-level performers. So these players become independent, critical thinkers. They apply a technique based upon the situation. So they have to select a technique, as opposed to the technique that is shown here, the outside of the right foot for turning right, and maybe the outside of the left foot for turning left. That's pre-designated by the coach without a decision, whereas this decision is being made by the player in yellow over a struggle to maintain control of that ball, is using his body to get between the opponent and the ball, and he may use the outside of his left foot to peel off, or he might just simply step on the ball with the bottom of his right foot as he leans back to sort of protect the space between the ball and the opponent. But this low-structured, informal play is a necessary ingredient for skill acquisition, as opposed to just focusing on technique one technique at a time. This focuses on skill acquisition, the ability to read and understand the game, make decisions, and take initiative based upon what you are reading and applying the appropriate technical actions based upon the game environment and what the game is demanding of you at that very given moment. So this evidence-based design of play, practice, play is based upon three components. Number one, it's based upon loads of research in the area of teaching games for understanding, skill acquisition, the value of game-like deliberate practice, and decision making to apply technique in the game environment to make it a skill. So research in those areas, but not just limited to those areas. Coaching expertise, and this involves the development of resources for coaches, such as the roadmaps to utilize as an observational tool for the designing of environments to help teach players. The 5 elements to serve as a checklist for building better player-centered environments. The coach's toolkit, which is a collection of different types of teaching mechanisms and ways to intervene, so to say, to address learning moments. The player development framework to help us to understand the player needs and the player goals for children of various ages as they move through the development pathway. And the training session manual for Play-Practice-Play, which walks coaches through 23 steps that involve a lot of observing, adapting, and asking guided questions and using keywords to stimulate thought and decisions on the part of the players. And the third component is the appreciation of the needs and values of the learner. And this brings into account the fun integration theory, the self-determination theory, and Cote's idea of learning by playing. So one thing that we do like to share with parents is the benefits of Play-Practice-Play. And this is a pretty neat summary that's available to you at the U.S. Soccer website in the coaching education section. It is a evidence-based article produced by U.S. Soccer to address the whys of Play-Practice-Play, the benefits. It brings intrinsic motivation, and this is what players like. They like to be intrinsically motivated, and this is a driver for learning. Players need to be involved with something that is meaningful in terms of the learning, as opposed to a drill where players are learning to turn right with the outside of their right foot. There's a large gap between that and the game. When does that apply? How does it apply? And the type of training that players really need the most is the training that they can see a direct transfer to and value as well to what they're learning and the game itself. Players need to read, analyze, and decide, because this should be a driver for their behavior, not us telling them what to do. We want players to be able to be creative and looking for their own solutions and solving problems. For we want them to be problem solvers on their own. We want players to be able to reflect, and reflection is a significant component to growth. We want players to be able to identify what went well, what they could do better, and formulate action steps for improvement moving forward. The learning that takes place within this experiential and holistic approach is helping players to develop and improve learning habits. This is a reality-based environment that children are experiencing the game of soccer within. And within this reality-based, holistic, and experiential learning approach, players learn habits for collecting information through their senses and making decisions and acting upon those decisions and reflecting upon those actions. So this is a learning circle that extends far beyond just soccer, as well as the idea to become independent critical thinkers. And this will hopefully carry into adulthood for things far beyond just the sport of soccer. Play phase 1 of play-practice-play is what we refer to as the deliberate play phase. So children arrive at training and they get right into small-sided games, whether those games are 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, or 4v4, nothing higher than 4v4. They could involve goalkeepers. They might involve maybe scoring through multiple goals. So maybe 2 goals on one side, 2 goals on the other, depending on what the coach would like to focus on for that training session. So if the focus is upon scoring goals, improve scoring goals, maybe we include goalkeepers to make it more realistic in terms of scoring goals. If the idea is improving build-up in an hour and a half to move the ball forward, so maybe we have 1 goal with a goalkeeper on one side, and on the other side we might have an end zone. So it's a deliberate play phase where the players are engaged in making their own decisions and experiencing the game. And the coach plans that environment to bring out the focus of that particular training session. The coach also looks to orientate the players to the objective of that training session. Maybe the objective is to find or create openings to play forward. And the coach will, during that play phase 1, will guide the players through the use of keywords, and will gather the players together to ask guided questions to stimulate thought on their part as well. The practice phase is part of the teaching games for understanding, and that is a games-centered teaching pedagogy that allows the coach to design the activity and the conditions of that activity to really focus upon the part of the field where this goal and objective will take place, but will also involve the roles, functions, and positions that are primarily involved in this part of the game. Coaches will step in at various points during this practice phase to address things like player actions or technical components to those player actions. So if the idea is dribbling or passing forward and spreading out, the coach might identify a teachable moment or a learning moment where he or she will step in and talk about how to spread out, how to adjust the body by running backwards as opposed to turning back to the ball, running backwards to get wide if you were an outside back, and how to adjust the body so that the ball can be received by the foot that allows for the first touch to smoothly go forward. And these are the type of things that might be brought out within the practice phase. Play phase 2 is the game that is closest to the model for that age player. So if the players are 9 and 10 years old, we would get as close as we can to the actual 7v7 game and so forth for the other game models. And it's a time for the players to express themselves and not be micromanaged. The coach can observe and identify additional learning needs or behavioral changes on the part of the players that could have potentially been part of the learning that took place in the earlier phases. So as a summary, the key ingredients of an effective grassroots practice environment is one that has a careful balance between deliberate play that we spoke about in play phase 1 and a variety of learning activities and regular game opportunities that we see in the practice phase and play phase 2. So these 3 components, when combined in play phase 1, the practice phase, and play phase 2, create an effective practice environment that maximizes player enjoyment and development. Because we believe at the grassroots level, children learn and develop to their full potential through game-like experiences in an enjoyable environment that supports individual growth. This U.S. soccer grassroots player development philosophy places players within a reality-based environment, which is the game. We have a holistic approach. We take into account not only the execution and player actions that are taking place, but also the fun that is experienced by the players. The meeting of the three basic psychological needs wrapped together to be part of that holistic approach. And also the learning that players enjoy most is experiential learning when it comes to soccer. So this is the U.S. Soccer Grassroots Player Development Philosophy. We encourage all parents to look into the grassroots coaching education philosophy and player development philosophy as well, for we hope to inform you, involve you, and inspire you to learn with us these methods for building better player-centered environments. Please visit the U.S. Soccer website and take a look at the Learning Center. You can register for free and take the free 30-minute Introduction to Grassroots Coaching webinar. And please don't hesitate to contact me at any time if you have any questions pertaining to this new methodology that is not only spreading like wildfire, but is also being enjoyed by children throughout our country. I'd like to acknowledge the following entities for helping me to learn and share with you this information. That is the U.S. Soccer Coaching Education Department, Director of Coaching Barry Pauls, and Grassroots Coach Educator Zach Crawford, Dr. Amanda Visick and her colleagues at George Washington University with their Fun Integration Theory and Fun Maps, Dr. Edward Deasy and Richard Ryan for the Self-Determination Theory, Aspen Institute Project Play, American Development Model, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and commonsensemedia.org, as well as the research of Cote, Griffin, Mehmet, Seifert, Erickson, and O'Leary and colleagues. So we want to thank you very much for participating within this webinar. We remind you to connect with our West Orange United FC Facebook page for up-to-date information and announcements, and we hope that we see you soon at an upcoming webinar. Thank you.